What's up, guys? In this video I'm going to show you my setup and workflow for controlling my DAW. I wanted to do this because I've been reading in a lot of forums and groups that a lot of people are asking for a more efficient controller or a more efficient way to control their DAWs, which doesn't only include the fader movements and pans and transport, but also a more efficient way to control their plugins. Yep. Many of the things I'm going to show you here work for most of the DAWs, but some of the things I'm pretty sure they don't, because since I'm using Reaper, I can build some scripts and macros, and I can customize some stuff so it can work the way I want. I don't know if you can do this with other programs, but for the most part, I think you can. So first of all, I'm gonna show you the gear and how I use it, and in the end, if I have time, I will speak about the whole philosophy behind working with this kind of tools, because I think there are some pretty interesting stuff that we can talk about there. Yep. So first of all, let me say sorry for my crappy English, and I decided to film this on my phone camera because I can easily do some close-ups and show you some stuff that's happening here. Yep. So to begin with, these are the main three controllers I'm using, because since there isn't a dedicated controller that meets all of the needs of the people, I had to find a way in which I can combine different gear so I can do the things I want to do regarding the controlling of my recording software. Yep. So basically my setup consists on three pieces of gear: the Alpha Track Pro from Tier, and Android tablet running Touch OSC, which runs on a OSC protocol, and the Behringer BCR2000. Basically, these three guys are working together, yeah? But generally speaking, they're used in this way. The Alpha Track is used to write volume automation, especially when I need a touch sensitive fader for latch automation, transport and scrolling and other stuff I'm going to show you later. The tablet is like the main central station of this workflow and or these setups, because I can do a lot of stuff with this, and I think it's the cooler part of what I'm going to show you, but I'm going to go there later. And of course, the VCR is used to control my favorite plugins, yes? So, up until now, it seems pretty straightforward, nothing new under the sun. But this is why this little guy here, the tablet, is so important, because since I can customize and write some script in Reaper, I found a way to navigate through my whole project in a highly efficient way, especially because of these guys here. As you can see, I have different shortcuts that represent each of my groups or buses. Yep. So what I can do this, since it is name sensitive, I can touch on any of these buttons and I can select each of my buses without having to scroll or look it with the mouse. Yep. If you go to the track window, what I'm gonna do is right there, that's my drum bus, my main drum bus. But if I touch bass here, that's what I'm gonna do. It snaps to my bass bus, guitars, overheads, vocals, or whatever. This is name sensitive, so every time I import a track, I just put vocals and automatically it maps the buttons to those tracks, so I can easily navigate through my project. In this case, I have 56 tracks in my basic template, which isn't a lot, but instead of scrolling with the mouse and looking for the tracks and see where they are or whatever, it's way easier to just tap whatever I want, and I can select my tracks. What's awesome about this is that everything works together. So if I decided to work on my bass track, the alpha track goes to there. But if I go to my drums, my kick, my snare, it snaps to that track. So if I want to ride the volume, I can do it with that. Of course, with the tablet, I can also do it by scrolling that fader there, and I can do a lot of stuff with this with the tablet. For example, and this is how everything starts to work together. Let's say I select my snare track. This represents my insert. So let's say I want to open this plugin. Boom. I can open and close the plugin by touching those inserts. Yeah, let's go to my kick. As you can see, the names change. Let's go to my bass. All my plugins in my bass track are shown there, and it is as easy as clicking there to open my different plugins. Yeah, I can open and close them, which is pretty cool. Yeah. Another thing I can do with this is that let's go to the snare track, and I want to add one of my favorite plugins, for example, Slate virtual bass compressors. Boom. I select that, and now it's on my track. Yeah. Or let's say I want to add a delay. I wouldn't add a delay, but instead of going to the track and okay, let's open the effects and select. Let's add. I'm searching for the plugin or whatever. It's easily done by pressing a button on the track I want and insert my favorite plugin. Yeah. Another awesome stuff about this is that, of course, I can select different macros I have in Reaper. For example, this button here is a reamp button. If I have a track selected, I just press that and the whole track becomes active, especially for reamping. I have my grid settings there, transport control, and what it is awesome here is that I don't really need a monitor controller. Since I have my sends here, I can control my near fields, my hour tone, and my headphones, which are not connected right now, by moving this thing. Yeah, this is my monitors, this is the hour tone, and these are my headphones. So I just move them and I can control the volume. This button right here selects my monitors also if I want to switch very fast. I have a drum loop right here, and if I press that, now the hour tone is, and now my monitors is playing, so I can switch very easily between them. And if I wanted to, let me just do something before we do this. I want to cycle that. And if I wanted to, I can raise or lower the volume of my different monitors or headphones or whatever. Yep. So that is pretty cool because I just saved a couple of bucks and audio quality by not needing to buy a dedicated monitor controller. Yep. So also, I forgot, if I wanted to, I could control my plugins from this page of the layout because I can change them. Yep. So let's say I want to go to my overhead track and I have the Maggie Q plugin here, which is awesome. And let's say I want to add some air gain, which is off. Let's say 40 kilohertz, and and if you can see, as I'm moving my finger in my tablet, the plugin gets control there. Let's say I wanted to add sub, which is not the case in an overhead track, but maybe you need it, you can do it. And I can select, I don't know, my Clariphonic EQ there, and I can, yep, move it around. This works when I don't have a plugin mapped to my controller, because this baby, it only works with the plugins I have previously mapped, which are all saved in Reaper. and it's for my favorite plugins, my most used them. But let's say I bought a new plugin, I didn't map it, or it's a plugin I never really use, but there is a case that I really need to use it. Well, I can control it with my tablet, or well, by the mouse, of course. So this leads us to the BCR2000. Yeah, let's say I'm on my snare track. Yep, and I want to control, for example, my Slate virtual mix track. This kind of controllers, since it has 32 knobs and also presets for the upper knobs and also presets for the whole layout, it's pretty unlimited. So in a case like this, like Slate VMR, I can load up the whole 5 modules and control all of them with the VCR. I don't know if you can see, but I don't have to configure anything. It's already mapped and saved, yeah? So it's as easy as loading the plugin and just changing the settings. I don't know if I can see. Let's play something, yeah? Let's go to the kick drum. Yep, so now in my kick track, and let's say I'm working on my SSL track. Yeah. Yep. This is the SSL EQ. This is the NIB high shelf, for example. Let's say I want to add some low gain. Yeah. It works awesome. It's like a super channel strip, yeah? Well, that's too loud. Let's say I want to bring it down. Let's say I wanted to add a compressor. This is the FG401. Yeah. Let me change that because the loop is really short. Yep. So let's work on the snare, for example. Instead of scrolling with the mouse, searching for a track, opening the effects, I just go snare, select my plugin, in this case again the virtual mix track, and I can work right away with it. Let's compress it. Yeah. Some nasty compression there. This is a mix knob. This is the attack. Yeah, let's open up the attack. Fast release. And I compressing a lot of it. Yeah. You can hear that, but here I have the mix knob. Let's say I wanted to add some high shelf for the NIB EQ. I can do it. That's too much. I'm not really mixing right now. I am not paying attention to the sound. Some presence, some needs. Let's see what happens. This is the SSL EQ. Narrow the EQ. There's a nasty peak. It's gone. Let's say I'm wanting to add some bottom end there. I'm doing it. Let's say I wanna just like that. I just changed the bell shape in the low shelf of the SSL, and I can bypass my different plugins. Yeah, now the compressor is bypassed with the touch of a button. Yep. So all of the parameters on the Slate VMR are mapped in one page of this. So I have my NIB EQ, my SSL EQ, my compressor, my 1176 right down here, and the revival model here. Another plugin I use a lot is the AirEq. I use this AirEq, which all of the buttons are mapped here. This is the air. Oh, let me add. It was bypassed. This is the air band, the earth band. We have a resonance there, and as you can see, the mouse is not moving. I'm doing everything with my controller. Right now, since I have only one hand, I cannot work with both hands together, but it's an option, and it's pretty cool when you're searching for a frequency and you can change the gain or the Q where you use it. I can bypass my plugin. I can close all of the windows by passing that. And another thing that I can do is I can select my plugins pressing that button. Yeah, this is the whole snare chain. Yeah, and by pressing that button I can select all of my plugins. Yep, which is pretty awesome. So as you can see, it's really easy to navigate through your project, because let's say, okay, let's go to my kick track, I press there. Let's say I would want to add some top end from the AirEq, and I can do that very easily. Of course, that's too much. Let's say I wanted less. Let's say I wanted to add some low end there, which I'm doing, and let's say I wanted to go to my snare track and add more high-end, but in this case with the virtual mix track. Let's say I wanted to add the high shelf from the nib, or let's say I wanted to add some parallel compressor with the 1176. I can do that. Fast attack, yeah, but the mix all the way down. So I can do everything with that. Let's say I wanted to add some plugin to my bass track. I can do it because here I have my favorite plugins mapped right there. So I touch and a plugin is added to that track. Yep. Let's stop that for a second. Yep. So with these two guys here, I can select my tracks, add plugins, control my monitors, write the levels of a track, insert my favorite plugins, transport, control, and control my plugins with this right here. One thing I have to mention about the BCR2000 is that I decided to use it in 14-bit resolution, which gives me a lot of more resolution to control the plugins, so I can do very tiny increments in EQs or frequency swipes and all that kind of stuff. And I'm using this guy here in relative mode. This means that as soon as I move a knob here, the plugin starts moving. Yeah. This is important, and it's something you have to choose. I chose to work that way. For me, it was better that way, because when you're using this kind of controller, what happens is that if you change the track and you change the plugin, the knob, the light, it is there, but maybe your plugin is right here. Yeah. So what happens with the light and the plugin when they are not matched? Well, one option is to use something that is called soft takeover. This means that if this knob is right here and my plugin is down here, I'm gonna move the knob and nothing will happen up until where I take the light to where the plugin is. This works most of the time, but I found out that I wanted a more immediate response. As soon as I move the knob, I wanted the plugin to react. And this works for me because I'm not really looking at the lights nor the screen. I just want to move a knob and see what happens. And by working in a relative mode, you can do that. Yeah, I load my plugin, and as soon as I crank a knob, I know that this is the mid band of the SSL EQ in the Slate VMR, and as soon as I move it, the plugin responds, and I don't care if the light is there. I don't even looking at the screen, so I just move it and it sounds good, or that it doesn't. So for me, it's easier to do that. What's good about this is that you can change the resolution. Yeah, you have to edit this on the VCR itself. So because if you don't do it like that, every movement in the controller is a much bigger step in the plugin. Yep. Last but not least is the Frontier Alpha track, which is pretty awesome because you can do a lot of stuff with it, since it has these three knobs and it has a lot of options to control sends, EQs, plugins, automation. It has buttons that you can use as shortcuts. Yep. Since I have a lot of these, I don't control the plugins with this guy, but for writing automations that need attached sensitive fader, it's awesome. The transport is also cool. This is a scroll, like a scroll wheel, which is awesome. Yeah, I can set these guys here to whatever I want, which is also cool. I'm using this one, for example, to to switch my monitors, and this, for example, to add markers. Yep. So let's say I'm going there and I press my button and a marker gets added. I go, yep. If I go forward, I can add another one, which is there, and another one, and these are also buttons. So, for example, if I do that, a region is created. Yeah. So let's say I want to do my regions. I just select the time and press that, and boom, a region is created. And with this guy right here, I can navigate through my different regions. So with the tablet, what I can do is navigate through my tracks. But with this guy here, navigating through a project is amazing because I can scroll really fast and look for the section I want. Let's say this is all colored up with my chorus and verse sections and bridges and whatever. So I can find really fast each section of the song. Yeah. So by combining these three controllers, which you can use another ones of course, but the main thing is that I have something to write my volume, use transport, and navigate through my through the different sections of the song, and of course shortcuts to wherever I want. This as the main section of the controller, which allows me to navigate and select my tracks easily, insert plugins, or setting my grid. There's a lot of things that you can do. I made this layout myself, but you can do the ones you need. And in the end, and also you have I'm sorry, I'm so bad at speaking English. And with these guys, of course, all the plugins. Yeah, and by doing this, I found that my workflow has increased a lot. Yeah, so this brings me to the philosophy of using this kind of workflow. Yep, because what I found out is that a lot of people buy some of these pieces of gear or different controllers, and they end up saying, a lot of, not all of them, but a lot of people end up saying, no, I work faster with the mouse. Yeah, but what happens, at least it is what happens to me, is that yes, in some cases, maybe using the mouse, the mechanics is faster. Yeah, because yeah, I can open a plugin. Yeah, I can tweak it with the mouse there, and you have all of your parameters really close. Yeah, and the mechanics of working like that is faster. But what I found by using these controllers is that it isn't that the mechanics is faster, but the process of EQing, compressing, or manipulating sound in any way is faster. Yeah. So yeah, maybe using the mouse to move a knob is faster, but when I use these guys, it takes me a shorter amount of time to do what I wanted. Yeah. Why is this? And this is why it is important, because by working with this kind of controllers or even with hardware, your mindset changes. Why this happens? Because when you're working just with a mouse, you're always looking at the screen. Ergonomically, you're always in the same position, and that puts you in a certain mindset. Yep. For example, if you're working with a mouse, you have to look at the screen always. You can look the other side when you're pushing a knob, but when you want to select those knobs, you have to look at the screen. Yep. And what happens with this kind of gear is that you can I'm sorry, you can tweak the parameters without even looking at the screen, not even looking at the controller, just touching. Now that I'm used to, I know that these are the mid bands of the SSL I know that here, if I close my eyes, I can find the 1176. This is my Nive Q, so I can close my eyes, and it's like playing a piano, and I can find all of those different sounds just by touching them. Yeah, and if you add that I can very fast. I can select my tracks and plugins in a very fast way. The whole workflow increases, and I could mix a song without even looking at the screen ever. Yeah, and by doing I can also mix standing up and going away, selecting a track, tweaking there, and so the whole mindset changes. Yeah, and ergonomically, the workflow is also different. You are using your body. Yeah, you have to reach for a knob, you have to reach for the tablet, you have to reach for the fader. So it's kind of like a dance. Yeah, um, and this, at least for me, it's way funnier than mixing just with the mouse. Way funnier. And in the end, when I wanted to EQ a snare, let's say, uh, it took me half of the time than when I was using a mouse. Not because the mouse is slower, but because my mindset is slower when I use a mouse. Yep. And also, but why my mindset is slower when I use a mouse? Because sometimes when you're working always in the box and not always looking at the screen, you can get caught up testing different plugins and options. So what happens when you use this kind of controllers is that it narrows down your options. Yeah, because I have my favorite plugins map here, and if I would want to use another plugin which isn't mapped, I have to go to all the struggle of mapping all the parameters, which it doesn't take so much work, but you still have to do it. So this workflow and this setup forces you to really get the most out of the tools you have. And what happens? Let's say I wanted to add some high shelf or some top end to a snare track. When I'm mixing with these guys, yeah, I just push a button and I know that's my Neve EQ high shelf, I do it, or this is the SSL EQ high shelf, and I reach for that and I do it. And when you're working completely in the box without any of this kind of stuff, you open an EQ and maybe it doesn't work, so you try another one and you try another one, and you end up 10 minutes trying different EQs to see which one works best for the snare. And I'm not saying that that is wrong, but when you have a limited amount of tools, you work with what you have. And what I am doing is that if my current tools don't get me the result I'm looking for, then I reach for another EQ or another compressor or whatever. Yeah, but it's only a last resort. I always use this. So mixing, the whole process of mixing, is way faster because I listen to the track and say, oh well, I need more kick drum. Yeah, select that, push a dB up there, boom. Let's say, oh well, I need I don't know, I need more low end in the kick drum, so I open my VMR and let's pump up the low gain knob in the SSO. There, my bass, I need whatever, and with very little and fast moves, you can navigate through the whole project and you reach out for the tool you need without thinking about it. So what's happening is that you spend less time searching for things, searching for menus, trying plugins, and seeing what works best for you. Instead, you're working like in a flow. Yeah, you can navigate easily, you can find your tools easily, and that doesn't get in the way of mixing. You're always touching the sound, you're always having fun, you're always comfortable with the tools you have. Yeah, of course, and this is to close up, there's a lot of room for improvement. What I feel I'm missing here is a multi-fader setup, because what I found is that when you're limited to one fader, it is cool, it's better to reach for a mouse and search for a track, especially if you have these guys here. But what I found out is that sometimes, instead of choosing a track and setting up the volume, it's better to work with lots of track. and see how they interact together. Yeah. So what I am missing here is a multi-fader setup, so I can, let's say, um, set the volume of my bass, my kick drum, and guitars all with one hand, yeah, at the same time. So I can tweak. Oh, this is a little louder, this is, and I can find the sweet spot of the volume of each track. Here I have to, okay, select my bass track. Let's lower it down. My snare track. Okay, let's do that. Overhead, and you have to one by one go. But when you do that, you don't. You have to wait to listen for the interaction between those moves. If you have a multiple fader setup, you can do that with all of them, and you can fine tweak a little bit faster. But what I need to do is to find a controller that locks itself to the tracks I want, because I have 57 tracks on my basic template. If I had to use a super large format controller, I would be broke, and it wouldn't be efficient either. So what I am looking for is a controller that allows me to lock to certain tracks. Yeah, my kick, my snare, my overhead, just as the bases, but having all of them together, so I can move them all at the same time. With that, I couldn't think of a way of mixing faster, at least regarding the way I control my DAW. So leave any questions below in the comments, like and thumbs up if you want. You can look at my channel for some of my music. I hope this helps someone. Well, see you the next time. Bye bye.